Hello and welcome to another Quest for Fit episode. This is episode number 3, and I'm here today with my co-host Adam. How are you this morning, Adam?
Hi, good Luke, how are you?
Not too bad. And this is show number 3. I notice we've got our first fan there, Adam. um, Joking about that. We're two people that are in our early 40s, shall we say, or just turned 40, and love training. And if you've seen our other videos, you would have seen the fact that we're trying to share with people our experience about what we have found works for us as people that like to train and live a healthy lifestyle. And if you don't know our story, go and watch episode number 1 and 2. Today we're talking about, is it possible? We've got 4 different topics that we're going to cover, but we're going to cover them in separate videos. Can you overtrain? Adam, I reckon you would be the best person to start with. Can you overtrain?
Sure you can.
What do you call overtraining in your world?
Well, there's different ways you can measure it, but for me, overtraining, the sign that I was possibly overtraining is injuries for no real reason at all.
Yeah.
So you're doing something normal and suddenly you're getting injured all the time. That to me is a fairly good sign that it's quite possible that you've been overtraining. And as you know, Luke, it was only recent that I tore my bicep muscle yet again.
Was that overtraining or just stiffness?
Well, I wasn't doing anything unusual. I was just doing a standard bicep exercise.
Yeah.
It wasn't a particularly heavy weight.
I can't imagine that with you, Adam. Like you like lifting heavier than me.
Well, it wasn't.
It was standard, was it?
It wasn't heavy considering what I've done.
Sure.
But it tore, and I wasn't cheating. I wasn't doing anything drastic. So, to me, that was a sign. Well, I spoke to you about it previously. It could have been a sign, an age-related thing.
Yeah.
So I had done an exercise the day before, a body part where it was a secondary muscle.
Mm-hmm.
I'd done back the day before, so it's quite possible that it was already a bit weak from that. But at the end of the day, in terms of overtraining, yeah, to me that's one of the points. One of the signs that you're overtraining is you're easily injured, I guess.
Yeah.
So, and I've had plenty of experience with injuries that just don't make sense. So.
Is there a particular number of times a week you train a body part? Like for me, I typically train every major body part once a week, with the exception of my weak points like my shoulders. I might train them twice a week.
Yeah, look, I think that it's an individual thing.
Yeah.
Everyone's different. Everyone recovers differently. In terms of research, I was reading a study recently. They looked at some athletes in Norway, and they found that that by increasing the frequency of training actually improved strength gains. And one of the theories behind that was that after you exercise a body part, you get an increase in protein synthesis in the muscle for up to 16 to 20 hours afterwards. And so if you're replicating that more than once a week, you're giving the muscle opportunity to uptake protein more rapidly more than once that week.
Yeah.
And so the problem with that is obviously, though, that training itself is a breaking down process. You're breaking down muscle. So, is that more detrimental than the benefit you get out of the protein synthesis? And they found that the research itself was misquoted in an article that I was reading. What they didn't say was, yes, that increased frequency did benefit the athlete, but what they didn't say was that the actual total volume of training was the same. So it's like, I guess the summary of the research would say that if you do 20 sets a week for a body part, you're much better splitting it up into two lots of 10.
Okay.
And doing that body part
You
twice
know what, I
a
was actually
week.
going to ask you about sets. Like I do 20 sets per body part per week, give or take, well, probably as a minimum, maybe up to 24 to 26. Is that overtraining? Or is that...
No, look, I don't think so. I mean, all the research shows that the more sets you do, the better increases you get in terms of strength.
Mm-hmm.
in that muscle. However, obviously there's a point where you've done too much. Now everyone's different, like I said before.
Yeah,
I myself, I only do 10 to 12 sets per body part per week. That's it. That's
right.
all I do, which is obviously very different to what you just said.
Yeah, totally.
But if I just, the research suggests that, and the latest research I've read done, it was actually done in Sydney, Australia, was talking about comparing 1 set versus 4 sets versus 8 sets. And they found for the best increases, you had to do more than 4 sets.
Yeah,
So you couldn't get away with the Mensa style doing one, or the Doreen. I think Doreen Yates trained this way, where you do 1 or 2 sets
yeah,
and that's it. The research shows that you need to do at least 4. So going back to what I said before, to me it sounds like what you could do, instead of doing 20 sets a week, you might be better off splitting it up into 10 sets twice a week,
okay.
and you might find that you'll get benefits from that because of the extra protein
Yeah,
uptake, protein synthesis in the muscle for up to 20 hours afterwards.
yeah. And you think I'll get, as they all like to say in the scientific literature, greater hypertrophy with my muscles then?
Well, that's right. Greater strength increase, greater hypertrophy, all the
Yeah.
things that you want. Yep.
Well, that's interesting you should say that because I've got a simple definition of overtraining, and that is when I go to the gym and I've got no body parts left to train because they're all bloody sore with lactic acid. That's
Yep.
overtraining to me.
Well,
And yeah, that's what I try to
I think,
avoid.
sorry, go on.
Sorry, I was saying that's what I try to avoid. Like I can tell I've been training too much. If I wake
Yep.
up and I think I have to go to gym today, or I'd like to go to gym today, and there's nothing left to train because I'm sore in every muscle group. And at my age, that seems to happen maybe once a month. So
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing we haven't talked about. We haven't talked about age, and I've spoken to you about this myself in terms of, I've found started lifting weights at the age of 14 and on and off, up till now, at 40. And one of the biggest things I've found is that I just can't do what I used to do. So
yeah,
I I do weights every second day. I don't do it every day now, and I do cardio on the days where I'm not doing weights.
yeah,
Um, I think that if I tried to do more, I'd get more injuries. And as I said before, to me, a sign of overtraining is easily injuring yourself when you're not doing anything unusual.
yeah,
Uh, but in terms of that, going back to the overtraining thing, I think because everyone's different, it's hard to sort of say, X will be fine regardless of who you are. I think we're all different, and we need to
totally.
we need to try different things and monitor ourselves.
Yeah,
And so I think knowing the signs of overtraining is probably a better way to approach it than to sort of say, here's a recipe, everyone should be fine following
yeah,
this. And I think if we talk about that, that's probably going to help others more. And I know from my experience, like I said, injuring easily is one sign for me of overtraining.
yeah,
And the other thing that you need to consider as well is that stress.
yeah,
Stress really contributes uh, to your ability to train and lift weights. And if you are in a very stressful environment, one of the best things you can do is exercise and do those things. But you've got to also remember that training to excess really hammers the adrenal glands, and so if you're already stressed, it can be a vicious cycle. So, in terms of signs of overtraining, one of the things I'd say, other than easily injuring yourself, if you're weaker, if
yeah.
you're finding that your strength's starting to decrease, to me that's a good sign that you are overtraining. If you're tired all the time, I don't know if you've ever had that where you're tired or you're sluggish.
Yeah, I just have a busy lifestyle. I feel that way all the time. So that's
Yeah, but
something
if
I
you
need to
if you're
judge on.
tired and if it's an unusual tired or
Yeah,
sluggish and you're lacking a lot of motivation, I think that's a pretty good sign that maybe you might be overtraining and a couple of days off might help.
yeah.
Um,
And I
Obviously,
do
if you're
believe the
sick,
days off are important. Do you take, how many days a week would you take off? Or is there a rule in
I
your house or?
no, I don't have a set rule. I go by feel now more than anything because I know my own body.
Yeah,
I go by how I feel on a day. If I don't feel like going, I don't.
yeah.
So,
But that's not an
um,
excuse to be lazy either. And you know what? I think you and I have matured in our training quite a bit because before, particularly when you and I were training there at Springwood Gym in the 90s, we'd probably have a prescribed program, writing it down, following it. And I said to you in one of the earlier videos, I don't go with the intention of doing chest on Monday, arms on Tuesday, etc., because it might not match up with how my body's feeling. But I do
yeah,
I write it down when I'm finished, and I write down what I did approximately, with how many minutes, what part I did, and with what intensity I did it. And then I look back at it each time I train and thought, well, this week I haven't trained this part, so I'll train it. Rather than saying today
Yeah.
is National Chest Day on Monday and Leg Day on Tuesday, it doesn't work. So I think we've got similar points of view on this, Adam, in terms of overtraining. And how intense is your cardio, by the way? Because it's the one thing I still don't like doing. I do some cardio, but I could probably do more. What do
No,
you call cardio? Like running
very,
5 kilometers or?
not very intense at all, and I just do intervals.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I like to
Um,
simply walk till my heart rate gets between 120 and 130, or jog for like half an hour to an hour. So
yeah, look, it depends on your goals.
yeah.
At one stage when I was, um, 120 kilos at between 5 and 10% body fat, I was just simply doing what you just said, getting my heart rate to 130,
Yeah.
keeping it there for 40 minutes, and the goal with that was fat loss,
Sure. Totally.
and it works.
And that's what my goal is.
Obviously, yeah, obviously, if your goal is fitness, that's different. And I remember when I was doing that, I went and did an aerobics class, and I couldn't cope,
Yeah.
and it was just a sign to me, a clear sign to me that I wasn't fit. Yes, I was lean, but hell, I wasn't fit at all.
I
So,
think that's what people make that mistake with a lot of bodybuilders. I'm about to go and see the IFBB show today in the Queensland Championships, and most of those people wouldn't be able to run 5 kilometres without risking serious injury or risking their health. So,
yeah,
not even talking about when they're in competition shape. I'm talking generally. I found that fitness is really difficult to balance with muscle because
yeah,
they're two competing needs, really. Well, look, I think that
yeah.
wraps up our first show, Adam. What would be your takeaway points from this, if you've got any?
Um, I guess everyone's different, and you just need to monitor yourself if you're feeling tired or, if you're easily injuring yourself or you're lacking motivation. To me, that's a fairly good sign you're overtraining.
Wow, thank you very much.
So,
That's really what I would say as well. Until the next show, keep training and listening to your own body. Thanks.